think he's okay. You want to confirm? Peter, on
Oh, yeah, I
reading.
think he said he was.
Are you reading?
Yeah, I'm gonna read.
Okay. All right. I want to start to call this meeting to order here in just a moment. Invite everybody to get situated. And do I have any council members? I think so. All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Monroe County Council to order. This meeting is for Tuesday, July 26, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. We are here in the Nat U Hill Meeting Room. I want to welcome everyone. All council members, I believe, are present in the Nat U Hill Room. Is that correct?
We don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
Just for the record, I will call the counselor's last name and then we can just verify that they are here. So, Counselor Crossley,
Here.
Counselor Hawk,
Present.
Counselor Iverson,
Here.
Counselor Munson,
Here.
Counselor Wiltz, and Counselor McKim. All right, we are prepared with a quorum. That takes us to item 2 on our agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove an item from tonight's agenda as posted? Any at all? Okay. If there are none, I will take a motion to adopt this agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of adopting this agenda as listed in our packet signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same sign. The ayes have it. That takes us to item number 3, our department updates. Do we have any departments that wish to make an update this evening, either in the room? I'll scan the room. How about online? Any at all? Okay. All right,
There is one moment, please.
got one. Oh, it's sorry, I'm struggling to see this. Commissioner Thomas.
It is.
Welcome, Commissioner.
There she is.
Hey, everyone. I will be brief. I just want to remind you all that we have the ARPA information in our Dropbox. So hopefully teams are working on getting more information. Mr. Crone is working with his staff at TSD to get a survey going as soon as possible. So we're waiting for that to happen. We'll let you know when that's available and we can get it out on social media. So just that reminder, and I don't know if there are plans for when we convene to discuss this again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Thomas. Any other departments wishing to make any updates? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 4. This is from the legal department. I believe Jeff Cockrell's here. Do we have a motion?
Council, I move to approve resolution 2022-21, an ordinance to approve and fix terms and conditions for the return of donated land.
Second.
Is that it should say to approve an ordinance 2022. It's not a resolution.
All right, let me try that again. Council, I move to approve ordinance 2022-21, an ordinance to approve and fix terms and conditions for the return of donated land.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Mr. Cockrell's here. Take it away, sir.
Oh, good evening.
I think we've talked about this a long time ago in the past. Essentially, what we're looking at is when we were looking at constructing the Profile Parkway with the redevelopment commission. When that was going through, we got that stretch of road donated to us as well as partial for a potential connector to the south. At that point in time, it was thought that we would probably try to construct both of those at the same time. However, due to cash flow issues and things like that, that southern connector was taken off the priority list because we had received a large amount of federal funding for the Vernal Pike connector, which will go from Vernal Pike down to the end of the Profile Parkway extension, which is essentially right behind Lowe's. And so as we're looking at that, the property owner is donating to us part of that connector. And we don't think that this project is anywhere close. We've talked with the other adjacent property owners that we would have to get additional right of way from. We think that they weren't as supportive as we would have hoped. So this is just returning that piece of ground that was donated that we no longer feel we are going to utilize in any way back to the, it was donated by ABB, and then they subsequently sold that whole area to a different developer. So it's their successor in interest donating it back to them. And that's what this does. And then tomorrow the commissioners will review this as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cockrell. I'll open this up to questions from council. This is a work session, so have at it. Raise your hand if you want. Counselor Iverson, why don't you start?
I think this is pretty straightforward. And again, losing out on all these grant dollars is a pretty bad idea. So thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Counselor Hawk,
No questions.
any questions on this side? Right, thank you very much. Any further discussions on this item? Okay, may I have a roll call vote?
Robinson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Cockrell. That takes us to item 5 on our agenda. This is a request from the Highway Department for a discussion. And do we have a motion?
Council, I would like to open for a discussion, the option of utilizing county general funds for highway paving projects.
The second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. It's good to have Miss Lisa Ridge here with us today, as well as Mr. Turner. And we would invite you to lead this discussion.
Okay, so we had our Indiana Association of County Highway Engineer Supervisors and Engineers Conference this year. It's a good way for everybody to get together, give ideas on how departments run, different funding scenarios. And it came a little bit of a shock to me that most of the counties utilize county general fund for portions of running their department. It could be for employees. Some of them are just for benefits. Some of them are for just paving projects. So with the increased cost of projects, as you can see, I just submitted last week the next round for Community Crossing Matching Grant Program. And we have taken advantage of that program ever since it initialized in 2016. We've been awarded in every single call, and that is 50% of what a project would cost. This last submittal was 4 roads, and they're lengthy roads. I think it came out to 15 miles, I think, if I added it up, 10.78 miles. And that's at a cost of $1.6 million. So if we get awarded that, of course, our portion is going to be a little over 800,000. We try in the MVH budget alone, average 1.2 to 1.4 million per year in bituminous funds and infrastructure funds for paving, but that also includes, depends on how much we're going to be patching and other areas that we use that bituminous money for. So we have, we're paving more miles this year than we have in a long time. I think 35 miles. We maintain 725 miles. It's really hard to stay caught up when you're only getting, we average probably 20 to 25 miles a year. And that's a total paving. It's not paver patching, it's total paving. So it's just really hard to catch up with 725 miles of roadway. That's probably the biggest request that we get year round is paving my road. So we wanted to reach out and begin the discussion if there was a way to put funding requests in the county general in the 2023 budget. And if Toby wants to add anything.
Yeah, we're trying to find money to improve the roadways. We've kind of exasperated everything that we can think of. And this is just something else we've stumbled upon that other counties are doing. We try to use our two bridge funds. We try to use our MVH, local road and street funds. But when you just have, with MVH, when you just have 1.2 million, even if there's maybe a large purchase that year, or you have to work on your building, that's where that comes from, because most of our other budget items are kind of fixed. You know, you got employees, you got benefits, you got overhead. You've got a few material items there. So if you have to make a large purchase, as far as a truck or something needs worked on, that just takes out of that. So, and as things are getting more expensive, we're just trying to find other ways to improve the roads.
Okay. Thank you very much. Counselors, comments, questions, thoughts? Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I really support this because for those of you who routinely get questions from your constituents, it's almost always about the roads and when can they get their potholes filled and when are they going to get something paved? And there just is never going to be enough money in that highway budget with the revenue that comes in to do the kind of paving we need for over 700 miles. Now, I don't support at this point in time with the information that we have to support salaries, because then that's always going to be in that county general because it would be hard to back that out. But certainly there's dollars that we could add to do more paving. And I think we should consider that. We also know that the dollars that came in from the state, what we were calling the CARES money, could be used for any legal purpose out of general fund. So I'm not saying that's where the money should have come from, but certainly it is something that we could provide for the citizens of not just for the highway department, because every time we fill a pothole, we are actually making it safer for every member of the public to get out on the road, because not only could they tear up their vehicle, but it's dangerous when you're out there and you don't have the roads in the kind of condition we'd like to have. So I highly support this, and I would encourage the rest of you to do this. And I bet if you ask the public, they would too. So.
Thank you very much, Counselor Hawk. Counselor Iverson.
Yeah, I have a series of questions, and thank you for bringing this to us. This is a really interesting conversation. And one of the things you said that really piqued my interest was that right now we're maintaining 725 miles of roadway, and that's an increase of 3 miles. Is that correct? We have 3 more miles to maintain. Did I hear that correctly?
No.
Maybe I didn't. All right. So I guess my question then is, are we paving more road than we have in the past year, in the past 5 years? What's the trend?
So I want to say yes. I think when Toby and myself took over in 2019, we attacked things a little differently than previous management. We don't do a lot of paper patching, just spot patching everywhere. We're actually more utilizing the funds to complete a whole project. Go in, do the drainage work, do the ditching, replace the pipes, and then bring in either an outside crew, bid it out, or our in-house services to pave the road to completion for longevity. So it probably takes a little bit more money to do when you do the thorough roads than you do some patching, but the patching doesn't seem to last. Patching typically comes up when you do snow removal, and it just scoops those patches out of the roadway. So we kind of attack it a little bit differently. I think we've been, over the last few years, we've averaged 20 to 25 miles. This year we got it up. And a part of that's to community crossings because we try and utilize that as much as we can. I think we got it up to about 34, 35 miles this year. But it took every dime we have, just to get to that point.
And can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
So the information you got from other counties, I think is really useful. We try and tie a lot of what we do to other counties. And when other counties are using general funds for paving, are they using a percentage of paving costs that they're tacking it to every single year? Or is it just the raw dollar amounts and a certain amount of?
I did not go into depth on the details of how they build their program.
Okay.
I reached out to, Lawrence County, Owen, Greene, Harrison, Hamilton, Hancock, Kosciuszko County. And so it was just kind of all over the board. And again, this summer, that was the first time I've ever really heard of using county general funds. I never knew that option was out there. So the more we talked about it, it was almost like they were a little bit more shocked that we don't use any county general that gets that assistance for the department.
Yeah, I'm interested in the mechanics of that.
Mhm.
That'd be interesting to find out.
Okay.
Counselor.
A lot of that is because when you say county general, you might think it's all property tax, but as we know, we rely a great deal on income tax. Not that many years ago, Hamilton County was zeroing in on highway expenses with their income tax dollars. Now we know their income tax dollars is a lot higher than ours. So that we should not say that this is property tax dollars being used for this, but it's the other revenue that comes in that supports it. In addition to which, the state put in place a situation where we can't use all of the dollars coming in. And I thought you might want to explain that about the split and what we're allowed,
Are you talking about the split of what we have to do?
that like the.
The
is
50-50?
this- Right, right.
Yeah.
The
You wanna
percent
talk on
that has to be split.
Yeah, the current, they want us to spend at least half of the MVH money, 50% on road preservation items. If you don't do that, there's actually a penalty. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe less NDOT dollars on other projects or something of that nature. But they want you to spend at least 50% of your MVH money on road preservation, and that's not patching potholes. All those potholes and all that mix doesn't count. It is crack sealing. It is resurfacing of the whole road. There's only certain items that count towards that. Your employees don't count, their benefits don't count, your heat bill doesn't count, your water bill doesn't count, your electric doesn't count. It is actually road preservation items. And that really kind of just puts you in a bit of a bind sometimes because you know that you've got to meet that criteria to keep everybody happy and keep rolling.
And that's a good thing to bring up. I don't know if you attend, we're actually with the AIC, I serve on that board as part of the IAX board. And they are trying to get a bill passed and get that changed to more of a 60-40 or 70-30. LTAP has a really good presentation of the numbers over the years. And we don't, when they passed this back in, I think, 2018, and we saw a big jump in the MVH funds. Now you slowly see that going back down because now the split's not really a 50-50 split. And that's where they came up with that 50-50 split. Now it's more of, we're only getting 40% and then it goes down to 37%. So how do they expect us to use 50% of it when our funding isn't 50%
Right.
what it was back then? So that's kind of the stance that we're going again to the State House next spring to try and get that 50-50 change because it's not realistic at this point.
Counselor Munson.
Yes, I'm really glad you touched on this because I was going to ask about what sort of requirements or performances does NDOT expect from county highway departments? What puts you in good stead for winning the most funding?
Community crossing, it's a scoring, it's an application. It's very competitive. That is, I mean, the one thing that I guess that NDOT stresses to me is they want the projects done. Part of that application is where you're at with your projects that you were previously awarded, if those projects are closed, where you are on the previous awards. And they frown if you do not spend their money that they give you, and that's gonna be against you in the future if you don't spend that money. And believe me, I have no problem of spending the money, and Dot knows that. They will actually, on your federally awarded projects, they will close out POs if they're not used in a 9-month period. And that is how a community could lose funding, county, city, towns. It's a rule at NDOT. If you leave a design purchase order or a right-of-way purchase order stagnant for 9 months, they look at it as you're not active on that project and you're letting it sit. So then they will close that opportunity to get reimbursed for those federal funds. So it can penalize you if you don't keep your projects going just as community crossings.
So project financial management is really the key.
It's very important.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Crossley.
Yes, thank you. And I definitely am in support of this. And I think I had a question earlier, and I'm pretty sure when Councilor Iverson was speaking, I think you answered it because you had mentioned that y'all are paving more than usual. And I would assume that that would be because of you're not doing just the, simple patchwork, that you're taking that out. And that's a really good thing that, that work is being done. And so I would also maybe just ask that, with that being said, and with that work, the more strenuous work that goes with it, I would assume like it would be more of a longevity term of that. So yeah, I would definitely be in support of that.
Councilor Iverson.
Thank you for indulging me. This proposal or this conversation that we're having now, what's the timeline that you would propose that we should start getting ready to use general fund dollars for paving? Is it this year? Is it next year? Is
Well,
it 3 years out?
We would take it anytime you would want to give it to us, to be honest.
Well, all right, that's the question.
Sorry.
I think our
Um,
goal with the rising costs of everything, our goal is this year, and it might take that extra money just to do next year what we got done this year.
Yeah.
Just with funds and fuel and what oil's costing and liquid asphalt.
So all right.
Councilor Hawk, and then I do have something
Yes.
after you're done.
I think we need to recognize too, that the sooner that they can get to a project and try to save that road, the better it's going to be for everyone, to get that done. To keep it ditched and to make sure that even if it looks bad to do strips of areas that I think we're going to see, that means they're getting ready to do a real paving job because they've got to keep the ditching going. If you ever went to Purdue Road School, and which was a real learning experience for me, it really made you appreciate what's happening with the highway department. But we also know that with the cost of rising gas and that more and more people might be cutting back on the number of miles that they want to use as well as the truckers, because we get the money from people going through the state. And it's not just people living here that is paying this tax. So any reduction in the use of gas means less revenue coming in over time. So in the meantime, it costs them more to operate with their vehicles. So to the extent that we can be helpful, yes, and I think I'm happy to look at whatever your projection that you might ask for to see what we could do, but it'll be thrown in with what everyone else needs as well.
So I had a few different questions, if I could, just to kind of get a better sense of things. And first of all, I just offer one comment. You've had tremendous success, and I really want to look at you on this, Ms. Bridge. with getting those state dollars here and getting those grants. And that's been going on a long time. And so I would say whatever you're doing to do that, don't break that and help us to not break that as
I
well.
spend it.
You spend it,
I spend it.
keep spending it. And it's tremendous, and not everything in our community always has that kind of success at the state. So that's, I don't say that lightly. Thank you. My question is, when you were talking about doing a whole project, I always think back to the paving and the work that was done in Van Buren Addition. Is that something that, like, when you're talking about the totality of a project that you kind of mean, or?
You want me to?
Well, in the past, we used to, we would run around a lot and try to take care of some rough spots. And now we're maybe kind of patching that rough spot and trying to take care of a whole road, or at least from one intersection to the next. If we go into a subdivision, we try to do the whole subdivision. And also, as far as the whole project, we're currently been using our guys a lot to get the roads ready. So we go in, we get the culverts replaced, we get the high shoulders cut off, we get the dead trees or the trees that might be at some point be a problem. We get the limbs cut, we do the ditching, and then we'll usually hire a subcontractor to do the paving, because we were spread so thin at one point that some of that stuff was getting left out. And as far as the whole project, I think what we're getting at is we try to get the drainage taken care of, get the limbs and the trees and the brush and stuff knocked back, where once we do get that road paved, it's going to be there for, 10 to 15 years, maybe 20.
Yeah.
Our cross section's getting a little bit thicker. We've been putting 2 inches on a lot of these roads nowadays, and it seems to be working really well.
The other thing I was just gonna kind of ask about generally, and maybe even recommend if you find it useful, and don't let anything from here slow anything down, is as you get a mass amount of requests, complaints on paving, I know you wear a lot of that on your shoulders and a lot of those phone calls and all that, but if you ever all quantify that, I know that people can log them online and what have you. I think passing that burden, frankly, along to us just for eyeballs occasionally to see a number even, it may not be the worst thing, because that's a lot for your department to just sit with, and there's a lot of public officials that have to help you with that. Ours truly, and that doesn't mean me getting on a truck, but it does mean on this end saying, hey, look, this is really going on. We need to hear this and wear this with you. So if that would ever help, I think that'd be something maybe to look at. And I guess the last thing, and then I'll be quiet, is do you want to, for your purposes, do you want to work on a hard number, a projection with your liaisons, and kind of come back to us? Is that something you want to throw out today? What are your thoughts on that? And don't feel like you have to answer on the spot either.
Well, I've been all over the place today with it in my mind. Because it's like, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and, $1 million stuck in my head. Because as you can see, if we are awarded, just this round of community crossings is $800,000.
Yeah.
That's immediately out of 2023 that we would have to use that money for.
Yeah.
So if we were awarded that in October, and we already had that money and committed from the council that, yep, if we are awarded that, we have that match ready to go. That utilizes our 2023 budget to be able to use those monies for the next January call to have that match. And then you're getting that much more and staying ahead. And it's our goal to always, at this point, we used to throw in some bridges into community crossing, but we really want to just stick with paving into that. And then also, as soon as we can get some of the bigger projects of Sample Road, Hunters Creek Road and things, those completed, then it'll eventually help us use more local road and street funds. So our biggest goal right now is a paving program and getting the community more satisfied with the roads in the county. And whatever direction we have to go to do that, that's, so, yeah, I know I threw out a big number there, but
To scare me.
I don't know where to begin.
I'd like to add to that, because the cycle we're going through with the community crossings, So we just put in for the July call for that 800,000. We'll know the answer to that in October, which gives our guys from October till they start making hot mix next May to get those roads ready. And that way we're getting a bid out, we're getting projects done, what's the community crossing wants done. So it gives us with that cycle that we're kind of into there, it really works well. It has past couple of years.
And the number that we came up for this round of July call was actually going for that full $1 million that you're allowed each year. You're allowed $1 million through Community Crossing as their award. We received 152,000 for Rockport Road back in January at that call. So that's a $300,000 project. So we're trying to get that difference of getting it to the
Maxing it out.
maximum,
Yeah.
maximizing that award.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you throwing that number out, and we're missing a couple counselors. I think this would be a good thing for council members to sit with, think about as we move towards coming days, but certainly I think it's a good discussion that we've had here. Anything else from us before we kind of wrap this up?
No, that's great. And you mentioned about public and complaints and such. I know the commissioners have put in some subdivisions for paving into their plan. I have mentioned that to residents that call me from those subdivisions, because I know it's going to go out to the public for their input. And I've stressed to them that that's where they need to take the survey or go to the public hearing, to go to the public meeting and voice your concerns about paving. So.
So, thank you very much. Councilor Hawk?
Right, I would just like to add that if we were able to help you this year, I'd want to make sure that you're covering yourself in the budget so that you're not relying on it every year, because we do not know what the future is going to hold for us. But it seems to me that this is something that would, help you meet the dollar match that you wanted for community crossing. And that's, the percentage match that we get for that is just phenomenal. We can't turn our back on that.
Right.
So just keep an eye on your budget so that you're not relying on it every year.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much,
you.
both
Thank
of
you.
you, for coming tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. That will take us to item number 6 on our schedule, and I would like to invite Stephen Miller, our Veteran Service Officer, to give us an update regarding the Veterans Affairs Office and all the great things going on over there. Welcome, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. My name is Steve Miller. I am the Director of the Monroe County Veteran Service Office here. Sure. How's that? Okay, thank you. My name is Steve Miller. I'm the Director of Monroe County Veterans Affairs and the Veteran Service Officer for the county. I wanted to have a little presentation. Here it is. That I wanted to go over with you, just give you a little indication about what it is we do in my office, and then I would like to solicit any questions that you might have. Next slide, please. So a little bit about what our office sort of looks like. There's one director, that's me, and then we have a Veterans Benefit Coordinator at 35 hours a week. Our regular hours of operation are 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, but we're very flexible in our office and meet our veterans where they are. So we often do weekends or evenings to make sure that we're able to support and serve all of those veterans in our area. Do a little bit of outreach where I go to the VA clinic every other Friday for office hours. And then every second Thursday, I have office hours at the Ellettsville Public Library. Feedback that I get from veterans in our office is that oftentimes getting downtown is a real barrier. So I do everything in my power to make sure that we have regular office hours outside of downtown to serve those veterans that would find that to be a barrier. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. A little bit about our veteran population here in Monroe County. There are about 7,100 veterans in Monroe County. About 2,200 of them are receiving care through the VA clinic here in town. And of that 2,200 who receive care, about 1,500 are male and about 160 are female. So you can see how that demographic kind of splits. You can't see the very bottom of the slide where 505 of the veterans are between ages of 17 and 44. 560 are between 45 and 64, and 592 are 65 or older. Yes. Next slide, please. Kind of circling back to the outreach and community efforts in our office. Again, I do biweekly visits to the VA clinic, the monthly visits to the Ellisville Public Library, and I run a community meeting called Joining Community Forces. It's a meeting that I inherited from Mary, and it has a wonderful group of folks who all work within the veteran sphere in and around Monroe County. We do that every other month, and I would have to get back to you on the actual day that is, but we do that and invite community members to give presentations and help to kind of just generally inform the folks working in the veteran sphere about things that are going on in the veteran sphere. So we have oftentimes senatorial aides and congressional aides that attend our meeting and help to both give and receive information that's important to our veteran population. Additionally, I have a veterans working group in the Monroe County Mental Health America Suicide Prevention Coalition, where I help to add a veteran voice to the Suicide Prevention Coalition. For me, it's very important that I spread the word about suicide prevention, and especially in the veteran community. Nationwide, every day 22 veterans die by suicide. So it's something that I feel very strongly about having a role in our office. Next slide, please. A little bit about the distribution of money that comes into our county from the VA. You'll notice that about $50 million is distributed to Monroe County by the VA. About 27 million of that dollars is in disability compensation and pension distributions. Now that's money that goes directly into the pockets of veterans and family members, and it's used primarily right here in Monroe County for paying for everything from housing and food to all other sorts of daily use expenditures. Additionally, there's money coming in for education and vocational rehabilitation, insurance and indemnity claims, medical care. That's one of the biggest expenses for the VA. And again, there's about 2,200 unique patients in Monroe County. As a side note, our county, VA clinic serves about 4,500 veterans from 11 counties. So it's a really big deal for us to have this here. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about the benefits that my office helps to connect veterans to. I'd say about 80% of my time is devoted to helping veterans get connected to VA disability compensation, followed by pension and healthcare. Those are the three big ones that we're helping folks get connected to. Next slide, please. Additionally, there's education benefits that we help veterans get in contact with. So both for education benefits, veterans, their family members, and surviving family members are often eligible for VA benefits for education. And so we do our best to help get them connected to all the different services that are available. Next slide, please. We additionally will help with veterans after they've passed. And part of what we do there is to help with getting burial benefits and headstones or markers for veterans. There's additionally a presidential memorial certificate, a flag, and some veterans are eligible for reimbursement for burial expenses. And we help get folks connected to those each and every day. Next slide, please. Some of the state benefits, the biggest one is tuition and fee exemption for children of disabled veterans or veterans who are Purple Hearts. This is an incredible program where the state pays for tuition for family members of disabled veterans. We help folks get connected to that every day. Additionally, there are some motor vehicle license plates and tax deductions for property tax that we help with. Next slide, please. Also, we have hunting and fishing licenses, the Hoosier Golden Passport, which is a discounted state park pass, and we help folks get to the Indiana Veterans Memorial Cemetery. Next slide, please. And locally, the Monroe County pays $100 burial benefit to eligible veterans. So we help with that a lot too. Next slide. I would love to take any questions that you all may have for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. Counselor Crossley.
Well, thank you, Mr. Miller, for that update. And this is something that's very near and dear to me because my father was a Marine and fought in Vietnam War and was a Purple Heart. And unfortunately, passed away last year.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
And thank you also for your service as well, too.
Thank you.
And I definitely benefited from, what, are you serious? Sorry. I benefited from that because as a daughter of a disabled veteran, that really helped out tremendously. And even in my dad's untimely passing, the VA was very good with helping us with the plot and getting him the proper burial rights. So I definitely appreciate today's presentation and everything that you're doing. I just had a couple of questions. I know one of the slides, it had mentioned unique patients. Can you go over that one more time?
Unique patients, that's the VA's verbiage. It's just they're of the veterans, there's 2,200 approximately unique patients. So I guess it's just, I don't know why they say it that
Okay.
way. I'm not quite sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I maybe I will fix that next time.
Okay. And then my other quick question is, of course, we're no exception to any community here in the country, but we have a lot of unhoused folks in our population.
Yes,
In particular, I know that we probably have some unhoused veterans.
yes.
Would you say, do you have approximate idea of, how many is that?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about your work on that?
A little bit, yes. Last year's point in time count of homeless or unhoused folks in Monroe County showed 9 to 10 unhoused or homeless veterans in our community. I'm still waiting on this year's point in time calculations. They should be out. I would have thought they would have been out at least a month ago, but I haven't gotten anything yet. I actually have a meeting coming up with the Monroe County United Way, and there's a working group that they're putting together for homelessness in our area. And so I'm going to be working with them to come up with whatever kind of game plans that we can to help those veterans and our population kind of get out of homelessness.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. And that's definitely good to hear. Thank you for that.
you're very welcome.
Thank you. Other questions, comments, Counselor Iverson?
Yeah, one of the, I really loved your slides. There's so much good data there.
thank
It's
you.
really interesting. I actually had that escape my lips. The distribution of veterans by age group is almost even.
Mhm.
That really shocked me. That was really interesting. So thanks for just.
You're
talking
very
about that.
welcome. Thank you.
And one of the things that I missed from your presentation, maybe I just didn't see it, it was about Veterans Court. How's that going? What's, has things gotten back to pre-COVID operations, and are you still kind of working with those folks? And tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I attend every Tuesday morning at 8:15. That's when the Veterans Treatment Court meets. Judge Dekoff presides over that court. They help with veterans who have some misdemeanors or felonies to get their misdemeanor or felony wiped from their record by following a protocol and working through treatment. Usually these veterans have some sort of drug or alcohol abuse, substance abuse problems that probably led to some of their their run-in with the law. And so that's something that I do every Tuesday morning. I'm there and I support those folks every week.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
To answer your question about whether, I can't speak to what the pre-COVID levels were like because I wasn't here, so I'm
That's
just
true.
not familiar. So
Yeah.
I apologize, I don't have more
Don't
information
worry
on
about
that. Yeah, thank you.
I had, Counselor Hawk, go ahead.
I was just gonna say how much I appreciate the veterans and the service that we're able to provide for them. A family member that had Purple Heart, another family member that struggles with some of his experiences. I think many of us could remember, well, I guess maybe I'm the oldest one, when our fathers and stepfathers and uncles had an awful time, but they never mentioned it. And I'm glad now that there's help available so that they don't have to live in silence with the pain that they have. And I appreciate your work, and I certainly hope that the veterans understand where they can go for help.
It's my goal every day to draw in as many veterans to our office as possible. And as far as getting help, there is actually a veteran crisis line that any veteran can call. They can call 988 and then press 1. And that'll get them connected with a mental health counselor immediately. They're trained to specifically deal with veterans. And that's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline that has a unique veteran component.
988.
988, yes, since
And
July
then plus,
16th.
are you saying then +1?
Then, so they dial 988, and then there'll be a audio prompt that says, if you're a veteran, press 1. And they press 1 and it'll connect them to a counselor who's specifically trained to deal with the veterans in particular.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
One thing I wanted to add, Mr. Miller and I have visited it, and he was kind enough to take time with me and go through some of these numbers, and they are absolutely amazing, the number of veterans in this community. I have always anecdotally believed we had a lot of veterans, but those numbers show that when this community has been called upon by this nation to have those in service, this community has given and given and given. And I love what you do, because what you do is help those people to remember them beyond the promise to get them in the boots or on the plane in your case, but to take care of them. And that is absolutely awesome. And I want to finish by saying two things. Number one, if you're a veteran and you're watching this and you think you need some help, you think that you could benefit from some program, but the VA seems really big and everything seems big. I encourage you to reach out to either Mr. Miller or the 988 number and see what help is out there for you. And even if things seem big, just try that first step. And the second thing is I want to read a letter that ran in our paper. By the way, Mr. Miller writes a column. It has been carried around the country because not every VSO is writing a column, but people are looking for this information. Here's what one person wrote to our paper. Thank you for your service is often said to military members, retirees, and veterans. As a veteran, I sincerely say thank you for your service, Ms. Vicki St. Myers and Mr. Stephen Miller from the Monroe County Veterans Affairs Office. Since his arrival, Steve Miller has demonstrated an attention to detail and positive attitude when informing or assisting with questions and concerns. He was instrumental in researching my service record including medical records, and while promising nothing, his counsel and efforts guided me through the bureaucracy, which unfortunately for many vets is the Veterans Administration. That came from Arnold Wells, citizen of Bloomington and a veteran. We're grateful for Mr. Wells's help, but I am particularly grateful that we have that office down there. It's exceedingly accessible, and you do that. There are so many veterans that never walk into a Legion, American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars station. They never walk in anywhere, but they could walk in that office, and that's a start. And thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Council. I'm sorry for my long comments there, but
It's good.
this is one I get passionate about. Anyone else questions for Mr. Miller? All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please come back.
Thank you so very much. You all have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That takes us to item number 7 in our agenda. We have an update from the Planning Department. We've got Jackie Nestor-Jelen with us this evening. And if you can introduce yourself as well, I'm sorry for not doing that.
Sure, I'm Tammy Bierman. I'm Assistant Director.
Thank you so much. We're delighted to have you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I think I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay. All right. So I just want to give a little bit of an update regarding our department and just want to keep it brief. So some of the things that we want to go over with you tonight are just anyone that's unfamiliar with our office, what we do. Just going to give a really brief update on our staffing and what it is that we're looking at. And then we also have just some information about revenue coming in through 2 ways. So one is planning petitions. Those are things like rezones, subdivisions, variances, and the other way is permitting. So building permits come with a planning permit as well. So we have some information about revenue for the last few years. And then lastly, I want to give an update on our county development ordinance, which is our effort to update our subdivision and zoning control ordinances. So we have 8 full-time staff in our office, and that consists mainly of, we have 3 planner 2s. We have a senior planner. Then we have our zoning inspector, assistant director, myself, the director, and then an office manager. And we all split up duties based on how our office is broken up. So some of us focus a lot on permitting and the other part of the staff focus a lot on planning processes. So the simplest way to break it down is people typically come to us that want a building permit for construction in the county, and either they can get that permit right away or they need a special planning process to achieve their end goal. So that's a simple way of determining kind of our workflow breakdown. So I tried to break this out by the fiscal year. So between July 1st, 2021 and June 30th, 2022 of this year, we had about 452 filings for planning petitions, planning processes. So that's your rezones, your subdivisions, variances, things like that. And based on my estimates and looking through the revenue that we had, that's about $64,645.30 that came in this fiscal year just for that part of our workflow. Then I'll go into just the permits that we've issued for that same time period. 248 permits in that time period for commercial construction, and then 761 permits for residential construction, totaling $66,440 of planning portion of that fee. So building department also has a fee, but I'm not including that in my calculations. So we have been tracking since 2012 pretty consistently our revenue. And so over the last several years, we're able to see quarterly earnings, and no surprise there that 2020 far exceeded our wildest dreams of how much revenue would be coming in, especially for building permits revenue. So this is just total revenue of petitions and permits through our office since 2012 to date. Notably, it's been since 2018 that we updated our fee schedule. So that there may be a little bit of a shift after 2018 because we had to update the fees associated with the just cost of work hours and employee staffing hours. And so that's probably something that we need to revisit here as well. And I'll also note this is focusing a lot on the revenue summary. We also, our office does, we do a lot of work with people just answering the phones, answering what's called planner of the day questions. We staff historic preservation. We do a lot of floodplain administration. All those things are a service to the county, but not necessarily coming at a fee. We're trying to make sure that those rules are followed or incentivizing preservation in the county, conservation, things like that. So though I'm focusing on fees, we also do some other items as well. Okay, and then I'll just switch over to an update of our county development ordinance. So we have broken up the county development ordinance into 3 modules, and we're currently working on module 2, which is the use table and draft zoning map, as most people will be interested in it. But we have also sort of gotten into a little bit of module 3, which is the definitions, as we are working on those use table items. And so our consultants that we're working with, we've sent them draft edits from the Plan Commission and Ordinance Review Committees and other members of the public. We've consolidated a lot of public engagement so far, and we're hoping to get a full draft of module 2 this fall for people to review. And we have a website, monroecdo.com, that is a great resource for people, and that they'll be able to go on that website and easily find out what their draft zone is, find the latest information, the latest module drafts there, and also provide us with any feedback they have at that website. And I think I'll just go ahead and show you the website real fast because it is really helpful. So if you go to monroecdo.com, and at the top, you'll see that there's some helpful tabs up here. Plans and codes is where you'll find the latest comprehensive plans and other plans that we've updated, studies that are helping to factor into this latest update of the county development ordinance. I highlighted maps and pressed on maps, and you can go down to the draft zoning map here, and it will upload an interactive map where you can zoom in on your property. And actually, if you're able to find a property that you're interested in, you can either search it by address or you can just zoom in on it. There's a way to give an actual feedback. So it shows you your proposed zoning. It shows you the previous zoning. And then also, if you press that feedback survey, it auto-fills the parcel number so we know which property you're talking about, and you can leave a comment on how satisfied you are on that draft zone. So that's something that we're encouraging people to go ahead and take advantage of on the website. So lastly, I'll just say that our timeline for the county development ordinance, we are hoping that by next year in 2023, fall 2023, to actually be at a point where we can host public hearings and be at a point where we can consider adoption. For anyone listening in the public that has property in Monroe County, you will actually receive mail notice, legal notice before those hearings commence. But at this point, we're just gathering feedback from people and hope to be offering updates on our CDO website. So that's all I have. And Tammy, did you want to add anything?
I think I just want to add that Jackie's just been our director just in this last year here, and she's really kept the momentum going for the CDO update and kind of, keeping the enthusiasm going with our plan commission and ordinance review committee, just kind of keeping that process going. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up for questions from members of council. Councilor Hawk.
I'm glad to look at this timeline, and I thank you for helping me when I'm trying to find something and you're saying, no, let's go back and start again. You had to help me go through it more than once. When we receive calls or constituents contact us, and they seem to have a very legitimate concern. And I know we've had a changeover in leadership there in the planning department. I would like to be able to say to those people, maybe you could go back and have this readdressed. One of the people I'm speaking of, they were not told, well, there was a deadline to take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They missed that deadline, not by a great deal, but they missed it because they weren't told or they sent them a letter, had a full letter, wasn't from you. But didn't say, and you have a deadline to do, didn't tell them any of this part. And so I would think there ought to be something that they could work with folks after a while to try to get that building permit, or to be able to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals if they had not been notified. And that's just, I'm not asking for an answer on that. I want to share that because I'm talking about some older folks that they're not always online. They don't always understand how this works. And so I'm hoping that we'll have kind hearts and reach out to those folks when they come in to understand that not everybody knows how to do this.
Yeah,
And they
so.
need your help.
Yeah, if anyone has a current planning question and they would like to call or email our office, I did have our email up here, but I'll just say it again, say it for the folks that are online. It's planningoffice@co.monroe.in.us, or give us a call at 812-349-2560. We'd be happy to talk with them and hear their situation and try and help them.
I would be very grateful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Counselor Munson.
Yes, thank you for coming and giving us an update. And I wanted to mention that I don't have the chance to hear great things about our planning department from my constituents. All I hear is it takes so long to get a building permit. And there's no way for me to have any sense of what the issues are. Could you perhaps review for me and for the general public what some of the major stumbling blocks are in order that people stumble less when they're seeking building permits?
Sure, yeah. One thing I'll also point out on the county website is a way that you can apply for permits, which is a little bit different than prior to 2021. We have a new permitting software. So people actually, if they're able to have access to the computer, need to come in and ask us to help them apply. You can use this search box and just type in the type of permit that you'd like, and it will actually upload the application online. So people have been applying pretty frequently, as you could see in our revenue calculations. I would say that the typical issue for building permits is that the lot itself maybe has some buildable area concerns. So whether that be floodplain or sinkhole conservation areas, or, it may not meet design standards like setbacks or lot size. So that does slow a petition down. That's kind of how we talked about. Some things can get a building permit, some things have to go through a planning process.
Yeah.
Because we have legal notice requirements and meeting schedules already adopted at the beginning of the year, if you have to go to more than one meeting, it can feel like it takes kind of a long time. And part of that is the legal notice requirement for each of those meetings that you're scheduled to go to. So I don't know if that answers it. but
Yeah, and a
Jim.
lot of those meeting schedules are established by state statute that we have to follow.
Yeah. But on the software, if someone does apply, the nice thing is that they will be able to see highlighted what steps are left, and they'll be able to know which department it's, they're still working on it. So whether that's planning, whether that's health department, sometimes there's septic concerns out in the county, or if it's building. But typically, I would say our building permit timeline turnaround is still averaging less than 2 weeks. So if you meet everything,
Okay.
it's pretty quick.
So that's very helpful, and thank you for addressing this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor Iverson.
Well, thank you for being here. And one of the things that always strikes me when I hear you speak or I see presentations that you give is just your dedication to transparency. And it seems like the tools that you're using are really garnering or they're designed to garner a lot of public input from in-person meetings to mailers to meetings of the township trustee to, I can go on and on and on. So I really want to encourage you to keep doing that. That's just like, that's wonderful. That's just like, we can do a better job of doing that and take a page out of your book. My question to you is, it is interesting to see that around $66,000 is coming out of permitting every year. And we just keep hearing in the news that just like, there's this nationwide, there's this housing crisis that's going on. And can you talk about a little bit, what you're seeing in the Monroe County Planning Department and like the permits that are coming in, like what's the future hold for Monroe County 5 years? I'm not asking you to like do a crystal ball or anything, but what, what are you seeing in terms of permitting? Are they single family units? Are they duplexes? Like what's going on?
Yeah, I would say in the county, overwhelmingly, single family detached is the construction type that we're seeing. As far as our fees go, I would say we're probably on the lower end of some of the surrounding areas. I know that other people have updated their fees more recently. So for instance, I believe it's $200 for a single family home. And so I think I heard recently that the average cost of a new single family home is upwards of 360, 380.
Uh-huh.
So 1,000. So
Yeah.
$200 is a very small portion
Yeah.
of that. So that's kind of what we're seeing. We also understand and know that we adopted a ordinance to require a certified plot plan for people that want to build a new construction of a home. And we know that that is a higher early on cost, but we think that having people make sure they know where their lot lines are, or if there's any flooding concerns, that they build at the right elevation, that we're hoping that people actually end up saving money in maintenance costs of their home long-term.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
So-
sense. Wonderful. Thank you.
Other questions? One thing I wanted to offer on that CDO website, I'm amazed at the clarity on that and ease of use. For all the subject matter that we deal with that has a potential for complication, you have to have one of the areas that would, to me, as a layman, non-planner, have the most complication, but that is so clear and just so it seems easy for the public. I guess my question is, how much is the public using that to give you that feedback, rate their experience and all that?
Yeah, when we actually, so we have Facebook page and then we also use that county website. When we regularly update those and post like stakeholder meetings or public engagement meetings, we do see a lot of traffic coming into those sites. We did have really successful in-person meetings last fall. We had those at each of the parks kind of in different townships. And so we had, I think it was over 20 to 25 people in person at 3 different meetings. And so that's a pretty good turnout for us. And then we had, I think, around 50 people show up online for a separate meeting if they didn't feel comfortable coming in person. So we are seeing quite a bit of interest and engagement. I think that module 2 is going to be by far the most interesting for people. That's combining the draft zoning map and the use table. And that's usually people are most interested in that. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you for the clarity and explaining all this to us. I know
Yeah.
we don't always factor in the daily things that you all do, but we appreciate very much your offer to be here, the explanation, and just this clarity is awesome. I think
Yeah.
the public sometimes gets a little mystified by all this, but you've made it very clear.
And I appreciate your transparency and communication. Anytime you have a constituent that has a concern or a complaint, we would love to hear directly from you about it or have a chance to speak with that constituent, because one of the things that we think can be of concern or of issue is a lack of understanding between the two parties. And so people maybe think that the answer is no, but the answer was, you may need to seek a professional. So, we would love to have a chance to speak with you directly about that, and maybe we can find a middle ground.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right.
All right. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
On our agenda, we are now going to move down to item number 8. That's the Health Department's a request approval to create a new account line and simultaneously approve an additional appropriation. I'll not read the motion, sorry. Counselor Iverson.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request to create a new account line 30014 other services in Fund 9117-0000 local grants, and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation of $1,500 in the services category.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. We're very fortunate to have with us Lori Kelly, our health administrator. It's awesome to have you with us this evening. I'll let you
Yeah.
introduce this.
All right. So the Premier Healthcare Foundation awarded the Health Department $1,500. From my understanding, these funds were held back until it could be determined the best use of the funds. The Health Department is requesting that this new line and appropriation of this funds for Sharps container disposal.
Thank you very much. Open it up for questions from members of council. Yeah, Counselor Iverson.
Where will these Sharps disposal containers be located? Are they going to be in like mobile units? Or are they going to be in physical locations?
Physical locations, from my understanding, throughout the community.
Okay.
Similar to some of the pictures that were posted in the community health assessment.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. We're now going to move down to item 8B.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request for a category transfer in Fund 1206-0000 Local Health Trust account of $440 from the services category to the personnel category.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Kelly.
Thank you. So a small shortage has been identified in the salary line. This request pertains to requesting a category transfer in Fund 1206 to make up for this shortage. In the past, I think it was split, and so there was a miscalculation that was just previously identified.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none,
Oh, question?
questions being called, may I have a roll call vote. All right, let's do a voice vote. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose the same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, it takes us to item number 9.
Council, I move to approve the sheriff's request to add a 5th amendment to the Monroe County Police Retirement Plan.
Second.
A motion and a second. We've got Sheriff Swain with us this evening. Welcome, Sheriff. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
And I'll invite you to tell us more about this.
I had contacted Counselors Crossley and Deckard some weeks ago to inform them that I would be presenting a solution to a situation that I personally have with the language of our sheriff's pension. I had opted for the DROP, which is a deferred retirement plan for those who qualify with long years of service. But with the statutory language, barring the amendment, a person who elects to be in this DROP leaves at the termination of that 3rd anniversary of the DROP, which is in October, just prior to the election for my successor. What I have here is a working with Stan Brown at McCready and Keene, our actuary, language that would permit me to stay on to the end of the year and complete a complete 4-year term as sheriff. And so that's what I've presented. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would like to see me depart sooner, but I would like to stay along as long as I can.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Any questions or comments from council? Counselor Hawk.
Yes. I've studied that document, and I had questions, and I really had hoped to get information from McCready and Keene. In the past, they used to come and make a presentation to us to let us know how sound it was, the plan was, and whether or not adjustments needed to be made. And so I do have some concern about how we can go about doing this so that it's not just, I mean, we certainly don't want you leaving the county in the lurch. So want you to stick around to the end of your term. But somehow or the other, it just, when I'm reading the language, it says the employed by the employer. Of course, you're not employed, you're actually elected, but the county is the employer, I assume, may result in a cost to the plan if any participant utilizes the provision. So then when you look at it and you go back up and you see how many years the participant is supposed to have been involved with the plan, then I don't know that it would be anyone other than you that's been around for like 30 some years and be the elected official. So it just seems to me that this should be written in such a way that we fix the situation that somehow or the other you sort of got caught in the middle of it. But without making it difficult in future for others. Let's say if you have someone who's serving in the department, maybe they've been there for 10 years or 15 years, and maybe they run for sheriff as just as you did, and they're elected. And let's say if they serve 2 terms, they're still not going to hit that 30 some years stuck in there. So, I mean, I don't like the way this thing's written. I know that it's written to cover for you, but what if someone else wants to run for office? So I would like to see if there's not some way that we could make this more fair and more inclusive to others who might also want to serve our county as an elected official, because this is having to do with the elected official. And then also, I don't see anything that tells us exactly what the additional dollars would be. But it's also talking about that satisfy the eligibility requirements as far as time frame, because that's what 2.01 is, the number of years served. But it also has to do with when you can start receiving these additional benefits, and it includes a lump sum benefit. So does that mean that this lump sum benefit would accumulation is only going to be available to just this one instance? Or so I just have a lot of questions, and I don't have the answers, and I'm not comfortable in voting with it on this as yet. Although the merit board, I did read the minutes of the merit board. It seems as if at least they're open to hearing about this, but they haven't voted on it yet.
They have.
They have?
Yes.
And did you have a representative there from McCready and King? Now, the minutes that I saw, I didn't see a vote taken on this. So did somebody send us a minute that with the? Sorry.
I sent the minutes out that Sheriff Swain sent me.
Can't hear.
Oh. Better?
Yeah.
I sent the minutes out that Sheriff Swain had sent me from the April meeting. It indicates that there is a discussion about the pension plan and that the board approved it, but it did not indicate in those minutes that there was a formal vote. So there wasn't a motion and a vote by the merit board reflected in those minutes.
There was, I just keep the minutes of the meeting
Mm.
brief.
It did not, what you sent to me did not show a vote on this particular, unless I missed it.
I don't think it's
I
there.
didn't see that. Well, what I would suggest that a way for us to do this is to wait until we have a full complement. Our president's not here tonight. Councilmember McKim is not here tonight. Maybe others understand how this works. I don't, and that's fine. If the rest of you would like to go ahead and vote on it. That would be, but I'd like to see the fiscal impact, because does this mean when it says that the employer understands it would be more money, that it could cost more money from the plan? Does that mean that the employer makes up the difference, or does it mean that all the participants will then start paying more to stay in the plan? And that I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't anticipate any fiscal impact on the plan, because I am in a sense already drawing my pension in the drop for 3 years. So I would just not be contributing. I don't think I'd be contributing to the plan. It's just that I would be in a retired status after October. Other sheriffs have chosen, that were career deputies, chosen to retire from the pension plan, serve as sheriff. So while they were sheriff, they were drawing their pension as well. And what we have here is kind of unique in that I will have just a few months left. So I would be in a similar situation of being retired and serving as sheriff.
Other questions and comments?
And
Ms.
I can
King?
provide some insight, I guess. I spoke with Mr. Stan Brown of One America just this afternoon. And as far as fiscal impact, there's no fiscal impact on the county funding requirement. In essence, Sheriff Swain we've already planned for him to draw his retirement benefits starting in October. This allows him to still draw the benefit, but remain as sheriff. So we've planned for him either way to draw a retirement benefit in October. The real thing that this amendment does is make it so it's a deviation from what normally happens with a drop. What normally happens with the drop is that a participant enters the drop, and then after his 3-year period is up, he severs his employment and retires and starts drawing his benefits. This allows Sheriff Swain to remain in office after his drop period ends. During that month, or during the 3 months that he would remain in office, he would draw a normal salary and get his monthly retirement benefits. And then that lump sum, the drop accumulation benefit, is deferred until January when he actually leaves office.
And I'd point out my chief deputy and I have almost mirror images of demographics for the pension. Chief deputy position can do the same thing, but by statute or the rules of the pension can just go into perf. And so say if a chief deputy had 2 years left, a chief deputy can serve and draw out of the general public and draw or be a participant in the public employee plan, and that's what he will do. Unless I'm incorrect, but that's been my understanding. And that's what our plan is, that he will continue. His drop also is the same, about a week different anniversary date than mine. And he will continue on as chief deputy, but be under public employee.
Okay. All right, Counselor Iverson.
Can I clarify that council's counsel is saying that there's little to no fiscal impact above and beyond what the council's already budgeted for?
That's what Mr. Stan Brown from One America and I discussed this
Can,
afternoon.
can you speak more directly into your,
Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
That's what Stan Brown and I discussed this afternoon, and he indicated that there would be no additional fiscal impact for 2022. We talked about 2023. He did say that the number or the projected budget for 2023 is higher, but he doesn't account that this amendment is the reason why. He indicated that in 2023, we'll be paying out retirement or into the trust fund for retirement for more deputies than currently. So in 2022, we're paying for, I think it was 43, and in 2023, there will be 45 deputies because we've hired within the 2022 year. And there's been salary increases. So although the 2023 budget is higher, it's unlikely that it's due to this amendment.
so to clarify, by approving this amendment tonight, we don't have fiscal impact. We are recognizing Sheriff Swain's service to our community and our desire to keep him around. And then there might be fiscal impact in the next budget year, but it's not causal based on this amendment.
Correct.
All right. I feel pretty good about where I'm going to be voting tonight then.
With this amendment, I will say that there is the slight chance. So it creates an in-service retirement benefit option. It creates an option so that a sheriff could be in the drop program or can not be in the drop program. In the event that someone meets the eligibility for in-service requirements, so they're 55, have 32 years of service and is the sheriff, and not in drop, then that person could elect to still make employee contributions. If that happens, then and then a salary increase is given, their retirement could be recalculated based on that higher salary. But they structured this so that it does account for only a small percentage of people will be eligible for this, because you have to be the elected, you have to be 55, and you have to have 32 years of service.
Right.
And that's just a very small actual amount of sheriffs.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I'd just like to remind the council and perhaps the council office as well, that can't remember how many years ago, but the council was very adamant that anything brought to us had to have a fiscal impact analysis with it. And I think we need to get back to that, because if I saw a fiscal analysis on this and could understand it better, then it gives me something to look at. We don't have that. And I regret that we don't, and that's not Sheriff Swain's problem. It should have just been a part of the packet. Do you remember when we did that, Sheriff? So that we knew what we were voting on. We weren't just doing that picking folks. So, but any rate, if you all understand it, I'm not going to argue the point. I don't understand it because I don't. McCready and Keene used to come to us, and they don't do that anymore. I understand that they did turn it into the auditor's office somehow, but we haven't seen it.
Okay.
Or have you seen it? The report? I didn't.
Other questions or comments from members of council? Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Munson.
Actually, yes. I do remember very well that we asked for a fiscal impact statement. This is something that we asked the council office in tandem with the auditor office to include for all resolutions and ordinances, wasn't it, Marty? I think it was.
It had to do with anything that was a fiscal impact.
At the same time, I am understanding that there is no fiscal impact of this change. Is that correct still? Okay. So the only thing that bothered me was that there was not in the minutes of the merit board, a statement that there was a vote in approval. And I'm wondering if this could not be handled after the fact when the minutes are up for approval at the next merit board meeting.
I can say that while I didn't put that in the minutes that occurred, but I'd also like to point out if we can clarify the statute that the exact order of who approves when, I don't think is spelled out statutorily.
Okay,
So it's a three-legged stool, so
Okay.
I can always
Take it back.
formalize that.
Very
but,
good.
I don't think we're out of
Right.
step on the process.
Okay, I would like to see it formalized.
It's Sheriff Swain is correct. When I talked to Stan Brown this afternoon, he had indicated that it does not matter how or the order that the bodies approve it. But my suggestion would be that if you wanted to approve it and want to see the merit board, you could approve it contingent on a formal vote and signature by the merit board.
Or may I speak?
Yep.
This decision, I understand has to happen before September 30th. I would much prefer the merit board act, and then we can act at that following meeting. And then we will be following how they feel about it. So I would like to wait until they've met, and we've got until September 30th as the deadline to have it done. And this is still just July.
Well, I can go back and rewrite the minutes because the vote was 4-1. I have one that votes negative every time, just about. I mean, I definitely recall the event and I recall the vote process was 4-1. I mean, I can go back and rewrite the minutes if that's what it takes, or get a affirmation by email that it did follow the rules of a motion. And I provided the next following month's merit board minutes where somebody just listened to the recording, wrote it out verbatim, where we once again spoke about the status of this and that it was moving on to council.
Yeah.
So I have 2-minute merit board minute reports in which conversation is that the merit board was behind it and approved it.
Counselor Munson.
So I feel comfortable approving this with what Ms. Turner King recommended, that it be contingent upon blah, 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 that just needs to be stated. But I want to ask Sheriff Swain, is there any special need for us to do this tonight? When there is a statement that it be in place by September 30th.
Other than being expedient with government business and not revisiting this and having it behind us.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Other questions,
I
comments?
guess,
The comment I'd make, I know that there's been discussion on this for some time. As I look at it, council's had discussions with the folks with One America, McCready and King. They're saying we do not have a fiscal impact. I know that as I had mentioned, I think to the sheriff, the first time I heard about this, the voters, I believe, elected the sheriff for a 4-year term, and we now have an issue where a pension plan needs to match that. And
Yeah.
I think that's what they expect. They don't expect to lose the sheriff here when this falls out. So, and that in combination with the fact that the council's one leg of this, the merit board is the second leg of this. I believe the sheriff is the third leg of that. So to me, I think that we've well documented that process, this discussion. This is a very rare thing, and there is the matter of that term. I don't think anyone intended that in October, a new sheriff would go into office due to circumstances around this, and we have to honor that service. to me. So other discussions or questions?
No.
Okay, seeing none, I will ask for a roll call vote. I'll ask for comments from the public, pardon me. Any comments from the public?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Beckerson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
No,
Munson,
Yes,
Counselor Deckard,
Yes,
motion passes 5.
thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. All right, we'll move now to item number 10 from, yes.
Council, I move to open for discussion, the information received from the elected officials compensation questionnaire.
Thank you very much. And one item before I turn it over to Michelle that I wanted to know.
Was there a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second from the Councilor Crossley. One thing that I wanted to note is that Michelle and the council offices worked very diligent to distribute and receive back information related to the elected officials compensation questionnaire. So that we can be better informed on how we compensate our elected officials. President Wiltz has talked at length about how this needs to be done in an informed way. And so before we turn to comments from counselors, I wanted to invite Michelle, any comments from you about this process, things we need to be paying attention to, et cetera.
My question for the council is, with the information within the packet, of course, and how do you want me to proceed with moving forward with it, is what I need to know. I was requested by a counselor to add 5 more counties to this mix, and I have not done that as of today's date, because I've been working on getting people trained to allow budget projection module, and I just haven't had a chance to do that. So, my question is, with the information that you have received and is in the packet, what kind of results are you wanting to see from these numbers?
All right, we'll open it up. Counselors, any thoughts, questions, correlations you want to see done with these numbers? Counselor Iverson.
It seems to me that when I've heard about this project in the past, that the council president has been very interested in getting these numbers and pushing this project forward. And I sure would like to hear her thoughts on this before I think we go too far down a road. That being said, I do want to recognize the amount of work that you've put in, Michelle. Thank you for doing this. This is, I know, been a labor of love or dislove, or I don't know.
Love's a strong word.
But thank you. Hey, the other thing to point out is it's a lot of information. There's a lot of data here. And I think the question of what do we do with it now certainly depends on which data set we're looking at. So is it salary? Is it, job classification? It's such a big question.
And I think tonight, this is just like, here it is, this is what we've got at this point. You guys need to look at it and then just kind of let me know how we want to build on this information.
Other comments and questions? I have some thoughts, but I don't want to talk too much. Councilor Matson.
I find it very difficult to look at 92 counties. And so I think I would like to look at a subset of counties, as we have done in past years when considering elected official salaries, of those counties that are most similar to ours, in that they have generally similar population base. They have a university in their backyard. They have, not necessarily the kind of environment that we have. They don't have the needs for maybe 725 miles of road that is up and down hills, but so for example, St. Joseph County, where Notre Dame is located, they do have ditches to maintain, but they have primarily straight roads. Same is true of Hamilton County elsewhere. So I just think it's hard to deal with 92 counties. And in addition, I will comment that I recall the proposal of our auditor, Catherine Smith, that there was a way to factor salaries so that there wouldn't be necessarily individual salaries to look at, but to analyze the salaries of comparable government units to see if they meet the kind of compensation levels that we have talked about in the past for our elected officials. And I haven't had a chance to do that with the information in the packet because some key counties are down in the additional counties requested, being Notre Dame, Purdue, University of Southern Indiana, and Indiana State University. And Clark County is right next door to IU Southeast. It is not the home of Floyd County is where IU Southeast is, but it is essentially on the border with Clark County. Okay, and Floyd County is very small compared to Clark. So I would like to wait for that information to become available.
Michelle, you have a follow-up comment on that?
Addition, which is Florida, Delaware, St. Joseph, Vandenberg, and Vigo. Is that the subset that you would like to see? And what other counties in that subset would you like to include? And does the rest of the council agree for subset?
Okay.
Well,
Council.
I'm not prepared to offer a subset
Okay.
to the council tonight. I think I want to look at the population numbers and the excuse me, some of the other data at the beginning of this document.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would think that if you like my idea of trying to evaluate a subset, that we try and come up together with a subset that makes sense to all of us, or at least most of us.
One thing that we could do with the subsets, so if we're thinking about, the criteria to create a subset of counties in which to use the data, one thing that each counselor could do, this helps as a tangible to do, are there criteria you think should be included to judge what would go into a subset? So for instance, you could use some of the things that Councilor Munson is talking about. You could add to that. There will always be things. Maybe the best solution for us would be to send to Michelle subsets we think are particularly important. She can then work with Council or President
Okay.
Wiltz and myself and Councilor Munson on our towards refining this just a little bit. Councilor Munson.
So, for example, the elected official questionnaire. And that is on page 21 of our packet. It has population, income tax, 2022 projected property tax, etc. And it does not include Monroe County, so I cannot see where we are relative to the other counties.
It's at the top.
Oh.
It's in yellow.
So it's just not, okay,
It's just not with it.
it's just not in with the other
Mhm.
ones. It's in blue, not black.
Yes.
Change the font color on me. Very good, thank you.
Mr. Decker. can I-
Yes, Counselor Iverson.
Michelle, on the preceding page, page 20 of the packet, there's a proposed elected official base compensation calculator. Could you go through what the thought process was in adding this to the packet?
I will try. This is from Auditor Smith. She was trying to come up with a way where the council could set a base salary across the board for the elected officials. And then this would calculate the salary based on a percentage that you would set for that. And this one, she used the base salary of 70,000. And then you can see the percentages as it breaks down. This would just, all you would need to do annually is figure out what you would want the base salary to be. And then we would just plug in the percentages and you would calculate it for you.
Okay, that's,
And is
That's
that
what I
a
recall.
process that you asked about in your questionnaire that other counties do?
No, we did not.
Okay.
We just asked, we didn't go into, how do you decide with this? We just asked. well, She asked on the questionnaire what the base salaries were.
Understood.
Mhm.
Thank you.
One thing I do want to add, and I'm speaking anecdotally here, let me just be really clear, but one of the things that, at times you can get choked on data. You can also choke on seeking more data. Although data is a beautiful, wondrous thing to have. My point to that being is, as we look at counties, one of the things that I think we have to keep in mind is that how counties determined where they're at with pay structures for elected officials, who gets what gets how gets when. Some of that has been determined with variables that we could probably work 45 years on and never conceive all of them.
Right.
And historically, who said what in 1982 in Vigo County that did then this, that, or the other. And so as we figure out criteria, if this is a comparison, if there are other things, if the base goes somewhere else, I just kind of throw that caution out there because historically, things are just so different in each location. Other comments, Counselor Munson.
yes, now seeing Monroe County in blue font on page 21. I'm looking at the projected income tax for 2022 as well as the income tax for 2021. And it's some different kind of figure. If you will just look at that, it doesn't compare with the other counties. So I would ask that be corrected, please.
That's what was given to me from the auditor's office.
Okay, but for example, Monroe County, 2022 projected income tax is 2.035. Bartholomew County's is 15,537,287 dollars. So we can't compare 2.035 with 15 million. So we have dirty data.
We will have to do a little trusting and verifying. Other comments, questions? Yeah, Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I was checking around trying to find where the county fact book was. Because I couldn't find one and in the past, we have from time to time, each had our own. And we must have been buying them at one of the, association meetings. But I knew that Judy Sharp, our county assessor, would have one because she serves on those boards. And so I called the council office and they didn't have a copy of it. And so I called the assessor's office and asked her if she could share that copy. And so I don't know who killed the trees to make all these copies, whoever did it. I just have to say, I hope you all have your copy. Because this gives us so much of the information that we don't have to be having staff do surveys and so forth. So much is in here. It has to do with the population of each county. It has to do with their different tax revenues. I haven't even looked at this one yet, but I just have it all. But I know from the past.
Yeah.
And it showed what kind of taxes that they collected, not even so much dollar amount, but whether or not they had a wheel tax or whether or not they had an income tax and so forth. There's much to be learned from this page. So if you copied this, Michelle,
No, I didn't. Sorry. No, I did not. Judy must have had somebody in her office because somebody just brought up all of the packets,
so I know that we can buy these as $25 a piece for each council member. The council president should already have one coming from the auditor's office.
we did receive one copy. It was down in the auditor's office, so I do have, the
Right.
council office copy.
And I also called Dave Boderoff of AIC and left a message saying, do you have extra copies? Because it's $25 per until they run out. But those are, this is a lot of copying, but if it was in booklet form, it might be a bit easier for us. And I just hope that in future, we'll go ahead and order these for everybody on the council. Because rather than saying, well, what are they paying in such and such county? And then trying to call those counties, it's right here. Except that I just have to say, our county did not respond. And we must do that. It's part of our job of being a fellow county,
Absolutely.
trying to cooperate with all of the 90-some counties that we answer when they ask for these things so that all counties can work together. But I do agree with you, Councilmember Decker, that really it is. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I sort of was hearing what I was thinking, sort of location specific. When it comes to some of these positions, the elected officials. And for instance, with the county council, I noticed some of these, they meet once a month. I'm thinking, well, we haven't met once a month for a long time. My daughter said, isn't it once a week, Mom, at least, or once a day? So we do act differently here. I know at one time somebody said, well, what do you want? You want 7 auditors because we were all learning how to do financial statements and so forth. And at the time that was rather unheard of. And now we all know, we want to know what we used to call the 16-line statement of financial. We want to know what it is. We want to understand where the dollars came from. And we don't want to vote on something until we understand it. And that's not the case everywhere. And I'm proud to say that I'm a member of this county council that wants to understand the numbers because we are the fiscal body. No one else can make these decisions. It's just us. So I thank you for the copies. And we might check to see if we can all get the book.
Counselor Munson.
So I'm okay without having a booklet per se, since we have these copies. But I'm not okay with not having Monroe County's own data in there because we cannot use this for our purposes without that data in there. Is there any way that we can, after the fact, get the data that is missing from this so-called fact book? It doesn't come from the council office.
That's a good follow-up question for us.
They can't,
I
they can't put it in if we don't send it to them.
I know.
I am not sure where or when they reached out. If it came to my office, it didn't come to me, unfortunately. So we'll have to look into that, and hopefully in the future, there's a better outcome and we'll get that information to them.
So,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Council, sorry.
so, thank you for that, Bree, but I'm, still wondering if we could get the 2022 data so that we could actually use information from this backbone.
Well,
Get
my-
our own.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be inserted and put into it. I'm just saying,
We just need it. So just
yeah,
Am
just a little addendum that says, here's Monroe County.
Yeah,
data.
my question is, how much is accessible by us on missing information that might be in Gateway?
Hmm.
Can we get Gateway information? Like, let's say another county, can we look at that?
I know there's some information in Gateway.
Yeah. Gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha. This is a very detailed report.
And if I could borrow a page from the planning department that just came, why can't this be on a website? This data be on a website on the county's, site somewhere? Like,
No.
why can't we have a portal with this data that you could access
Absolutely.
in the middle of the night if you wanted to?
Because that's when we have time.
Now,
to
this is
analyze
a
it.
conversation for another time and another place, but
yeah.
it seems to me like printing off a booklet or having a booklet on a bookshelf is missing the forest for the trees. It should be this should all be online. And maybe it is, and I just don't have it on my fingertips.
So I asked.
Then that this fact book out, that thing, so I don't. Why, why we couldn't have it.
Online.
Yeah. And that's always a good constituency thing to them, 'cause since we're participatory to them. Other questions or comments? I don't want us to choke on the data or this report, but one thing I parting thoughts, and I'm only speaking for what I think Counselor Wiltz would say, is that if members have strong thoughts about Criterion to do a subset of counties, now is the time to do that. The budget is kind of knocking on the window and asking if we're going to open the door. And Kim Shell's nodding at me indicates that probably doesn't describe how urgent the time is. So counselors, I want to task that to you. If you have strong thoughts on subsets, now is your time. Send those along to Michelle. You copy Counselor Wiltz, but send those to Michelle so that she knows what we're thinking. The worst thing that we can do is being in here celebrating the holidays and talking about any of this. As we have learned in the past, when we've done big things, but that's a bad time to be talking about it. Yes, Michelle.
This, but still needs to be kind of geared toward COLA amounts. That kind of thing, and I know, Bree and I are getting ready to work on some information for you guys regarding miscellaneous revenue and stuff, but, I just want to keep that kind of here, the forefront. We still need to work on that.
Okay,
Good point.
that's a good,
COLA,
Reminder.
for members of the public watching at home, COLA is cost of living adjustment. That affects our employees very much. They know what that is. If you were tuning in and you thought that was a reference to Coke or Pepsi, it is not. This is a very important thing. So counselors on that, COLA amounts, thoughts, strong thoughts, again, to Michelle. All right, I'm going to move us along. I think that takes us to item number 11, which is council comments. And so counselors, any comments you want to make before we adjourn this meeting?
I will. Yes. I'd like to remind the public and certainly county council members that tomorrow at 4:30, we have a meeting of the Sophia Travis Grants Committee to hear presentations from the 2022 grant applicants. And this will be recorded on CATS for later viewing. But, and this does not affect how we would, their presentation style or whatever does not affect how we would score their application. But it's a chance for the public to learn about the incredible array of nonprofits we have that help our community. And I urge people to watch this.
Absolutely.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes, as many of you know, I'm one of the liaisons with the airport. And I know that the airport director has been very concerned about the salary dollar amount that he can offer for the assistant airport director. And so they did their own analysis and got some information from similar airports. And sent that information has been shared with everyone on the council. Now, they had hoped to get it on the work session agenda for this evening, and I guess they were short a few minutes of the deadline. But I want to invite you all to take a good hard look at that, because it is essential that we have a good leadership at the airport. And I am told that the assistant director is planning on leaving next year. And as a reminder, that is a separate fund. It's not in the general fund. Generally, if we have someone who might be leaving next year, we can adjust that salary if we feel like we have to in the coming year. We might want to take a look at it and see what would we do if there's not enough revenue there, because we can't move money. We can't move money from one fund to the other fund once we have that budget put in place. I would like to suggest that he proceed with including that in his budget, and then we will have an opportunity to determine what our goal is. But for whatever reason, just want to make sure everybody takes time to look at that information that's been sent out. And now I feel like I've done my due diligence because I tried, and that's about all I can get done.
You've done a great job. And we will look forward to Carlos coming in and talking to us. Always awesome to hear about the airport and all the great things going on. They're doing great things. By the way, I think they're still looking for volunteers for the event.
Runway Day.
Runway Day. So if you can help out, members of the public interested, the airport would love to have you. They do a great job. Any further comments for the good of this council or this county? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.